I'm Tammy Haddad, and we're here at the AI Expo. Our friends at the Special Competitive Studies Project have done it again. There are 14,000 people here, and I am so lucky to talk to one of the most important CEOs here from Rhombus Power, Anshu Roy. Dr. Roy, I'm so glad that you could be with us today. Let's hear it for him.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Because when you talk about why all the people are here and the work that's being done, Rhombus is ground zero. You started it all. Take us back to the origin story.
Oh, yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Tammy. The origins of Rhombus, I started this company in 2011. See, what happened was I was well on my way to become a professor, and I had some awesome job offers. In 2010, I had just come out of Nobel laureate's lab. I had published very well. I'd done everything that one is supposed to do. What I hadn't done was really give hard thought to whether I really wanted to become an academic or not, and whether I would be a good academic or not. And when I did, I realized that I would make a very bad academic because I don't have that level of patience that you really need to both teach well and do research well. So what could I do with all my restless energy? And I think the answer was obvious. I had to start a business. I come from an entrepreneurial background. My father is an entrepreneur. My brother's an entrepreneur. So it was a natural thing. I started the company in 2011. First 5 years were spent just inventing and commercializing a solid-state neutron sensor in Fukushima Daiichi. It was very successful.
So that's for industry, government. Who did you start with first?
Well, okay, you guessed it. I started it with the government, and it didn't work very well because I really had no idea how DC works.
Right.
I mean, I was just a kid. I had no idea. And I made multiple trips to Washington trying to sell my neutron sensor. I used to carry it in my bag.
How big was it?
It was pretty big.
Oh, okay.
And you know, people are very gracious in America. They'll give you the time of day. They'll talk to you, but you have to know the process after that. And so I didn't know all of that. And so I was very, very unsuccessful in selling, very successful in making, unsuccessful in selling to the U.S. government at that time. And then I got this phone call from the Japanese via Alan Heeger, who was my Nobel laureate postdoctoral advisor.
So you started with the Japanese government.
Yeah, and then what I did was I realized that in 2015 when DIU started and just opened its
Right,
doors,
the Defense Innovation Unit at the Pentagon.
and so I knocked the door, and that's when I met my good friend Bucky Butow, who's now Major General Butow, of course. He was colonel back then, and you know, several cups of tea later, we became friends, and it was very obvious that we had something to say and we could contribute in meaningful ways. And DIU did an amazing job at helping us connect with problem owners. And
what's that?
Well, people who have in the DoD problems they want to solve.
Right. So that could be the Navy, the Army.
Yeah, the Air Force.
Yeah, anyone.
Intelligence services, whoever.
Right.
Right. And we were very lucky to have that interface. And when we did have that interface, some of them were able to express what they really wanted. Defining a problem is the hardest thing. If you can ask the right questions, then actually answers come relatively easily. But defining a problem is an iterative process, as you know. And what I enjoyed very much in those years was this idea that we could iterate with them just on the question. This was a radically different way of doing business for the Department of Defense. And it's all thanks to Secretary Ash Carter's vision. And he was really taking us back to the 50s, which is how we did business back then, when all the breakout efforts like Corona and so on were happening.
And In other words, innovation comes first instead of here's what we've been doing all these years and we're going to keep doing it.
So I'll edit that a little bit. Yes, innovation comes first, but innovation for urgent problems.
Okay.
That sense of urgency is absolutely critical because that ensures programmatic funding down the road. Innovations tend to die mostly because they are resource starved. And they're resource starved because somebody in the budget making process decides that they're not important enough, right?
Right.
For a variety of reasons, political or whatever that might be. We were very lucky to actually be able to understand that through a man named Sam Araki. He was my intellectual godfather. And he retired as CEO of Lockheed Missiles and Space eventually. And he always used to say, rush to learn to me, rush to learn.
Rush to learn. That sounds like words to live by.
Yeah, people say in the Valley, rush to fail. And he's like, no, that's wrong. Rush to learn.
Yeah.
So I am blessed to have met someone like that.
So now let's go to today. So now we have this, I was going to say brave new world. I don't think that's right. I think we have this world where everyone is rushing to work in public sector.
Yeah.
And even we're surrounded here at the AI Expo with people with all kinds of ideas.
Yeah.
You're already in there working with them. Do you take ideas from other companies? I mean, do you have people you want to work with? Because just to your point, and you can't say it enough, it's so hard to get into defense and intel and have the relationships. This is not about friendship. This is about standards and rules, right?
Yep.
So do you collaborate with others or how do you do it?
Oh, we collaborate with over 36 companies. We have a lot of different partners. Our system is fundamentally for what we call predictive decision support in real time. So the ability to sort of see the impact of decisions that are being made and to be able to see them in real time using artificial intelligence in a variety of different ways.
So give us an example.
For example, let's take warfare. In a recent conflict that happened in Asia, you're probably tracking that. Where would one country attack? Let's say Pakistan were to attack India. Where would they attack from? What kind of attack would it be? And let's say I could tell you that. I could tell you when that would happen. I could tell you that 3 days from now it would happen. Okay. And then if they sort of increase their defenses, then how should they do it to be most effective? That is the kind of question we are able to now answer quite effectively and operationally.
Well, sadly, you predicted the start of the war in Ukraine.
Yeah, we did. To the day. We were off by 1 day.
Right.
And some of it is also, most of it is just mathematics. I mean, it's patterns of behavior that machines can pick up better than any human can at scale. And the ability to sort of, no matter which country you are, you cannot operate large militaries without certain organized behavior.
Right.
And no matter how good you think you are at deception, there'll always be things you'll give away. And so it's those pieces we pick up very easily through commercial sensing. No government, including the US government, will ever be able to match the combined power of the commercial world to pick up what's going on our planet or in space or wherever or in the cyberspace.
Even China?
Not even China.
Not even close.
They cannot afford it. They would go bankrupt. Because the total corporate strength, the entire sort of the investments on collection not for intelligence, but for business purposes that has been done is so spectacularly large that no government can afford it. This was not the case in the 80s or the 70s or whenever, when it was quite the opposite. But with the internet came the cloud for rapid communications, incredible open source explosion of software, that there was a monetary incentive to create this kind of ecosystem of very small companies that could eventually some would become very big companies and so on. And everybody wanted to become that big company, and everyone was running for that. And so that's capitalism, and that's great. So that led to what we are now beneficiaries of, which is we are able to source over 5,000 streams of data into our platform, from satellites to sensors and cell phones, and you name it, it's in there. Social media, dark web, all kinds of things. When you combine all of that intelligently for addressing questions that everybody is asking, there are some basic questions we're all asking, right? Where would certain countries attack? When would that be? Which countries might go politically unstable? Where would conflicts happen? Where would black swans happen? What could they be? Everybody's curious to know questions.
So way before Sam Altman came up with ChatGPT, you were collecting data.
Yeah, we were.
And you pile it on.
Yeah. So foundational models like Sam Altman, OpenAI, Claude, all of these, Mistral, whatever, they're all very, very important. What's needed underneath them, though, is data. Very curated, connected data, in order for you to generate reliable intelligence.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because ChatGPT did kind of change everything. I wonder if it made your industry more competitive.
Sure did.
And it probably helped you with your business, because you're probably saying like, hey, we've been doing this for years and these guys only have this tiny part, right? Did you have a lot of meetings like that?
Yeah, I mean, we did. Initially, it was different. Initially, it was like, oh, well, you guys are irrelevant now because we'll go to OpenAI for everything. Very soon, of course, that lasted for about a couple of months. And then people quickly realized that the ChatGPT and Claude are very powerful generic capabilities, but for doing specific things accurately, you do need other kinds of things.
So last night, we gave an award at the inaugural AI Honors to Booz Allen engineers who created something called Space Llama. And essentially, with NVIDIA chips and with the help of Meta, with Llama 3.2, they actually created for lack of a better way to say it, this ChatGPT or Space Llama for the International Space Station. So I ran into Senator Mark Kelly, who was an astronaut, and I said, hey, have you heard about Space Llama? He's like, what are you talking about? I said, you no longer have to carry manuals on the International Space Station. And he said, this is an incredible idea, because when I went up in space, we had 7 feet of manuals. We had to get in the capsule, right? So it sounds like you're taking even more. But my question is, with open source, how has that changed things for you? Because that's the little guys that can jump in, or you don't see that as competition?
Oh, no. There's no problem. And little guys should jump in. That's what an ecosystem is for. We've been doing it for 10 years. We have a head start. If we don't work hard enough, then we won't have that head start for too long. And that's just the nature of our business.
So can I talk about the GPUs? Because I just talked to Keith Stryer, he's at AMD, he used to be at NVIDIA. And I love the story of NVIDIA that Jensen Huang was talking about these chips and GPUs, and everyone else was talking about the CPUs. And they had this huge bet, but other people did not have that bet. Were you aware of that? Just not towards your business, but just in the overall ecosystem of AI, did it make you nervous, or did you think, man, that guy doesn't have any idea what he's talking about?
No, well, so a lot of stories get built in hindsight. So, I think we should be careful of...
I'm in that business, by the way. Be very careful. I consult HBO Films. That's one of the things we like to do. But go ahead.
So it depends on the narrative you're trying to portray. So I think it's that's an interesting way to look at it. I didn't look at it that way. The man was making GPUs because the gaming industry was exploding, and that's all there was to it. And it so happened that neural networks were far more efficient with GPUs because they can operate things in parallel, and that's all there is to it. Parallel computing, the world of parallel computing was already in place, but it used CPUs, and it was a tiny market where nobody in their right minds would ever invest.
Right.
Gaming, highly addictive, completely consumerized. Of course, let's make chips for that, and that's how this business works. And then, of course, machine learning came in, and then the AI explosion happened, and now we're seeing what we're seeing. It won't last, though.
You don't think?
No.
Good. QP.
Eventually, it becomes commodity, right? That's generally.
Oh, I don't know. You say that. I don't know that. It makes sense though. But I don't know if you know Jack Hittery from Sandbox AQ.
Yeah.
And he talks about QPUs.
Yeah, sure.
So what happens with that?
What happens with that is that the nature of problems you can solve will change dramatically. The nature of problems that quantum computing is built for is quite different from what artificial intelligence tries to do. AI is a massive correlator, okay? And it does a very good job at that. Not all problems are correlation problems, as it turns out. So what we will see happening is that we will understand our sciences much better. I think we will be able to use that knowledge to do compute more effectively, such as optimize logistics much more effectively. That's one example. But of course,
Medicine?
yeah, what's that?
Medicine?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It'll be an incredible revolution in medication. Do you know, science doesn't understand how Tylenol works on the human body. It just works.
Yeah.
So that's why we call it drug discovery, not drug creation, right?
Right.
We discover. And so as long as it is discovery, correlation tools will help you. So AI will help you. When you start to develop an understanding at a scientific level of how drugs can be created in more intentional ways to do certain things through chemistry, and you understand biology and physics to that level, then it will be called drug creation.
That's right. Okay, I have to ask you about agentic, because there's been a lot of conversations on the streets, I like saying on the streets, about clean data versus like crappy data.
Yeah.
So crappy data like Twitter, right? When it's just like people yakking up a storm about whatever it is, versus the kind of, I feel like you have all the clean data in your pocket. I can't see it. Can anyone see it? Does he have clean data in his pocket? And so with agentic, right, you've got to have clean data to be effective. How do you look at that?
I look at it slightly differently. So first of all, when you go to X or other social media sites, any data in our business, national security business, is actually very meaningful because it reveals certain signals. Even noise reveals signals. So what people blabber on the social media and other places, or what different mainstream media bubbles do in their own little worlds, is very, very important for us, because those are nothing more than information narratives. That's the battle of the narrative. And we actually our system learns from that, and then it tries to generate, depending on what kind of messaging you're trying to create, it can do that.
Okay.
In national security, that's a very important piece. And yes, we have a whole bunch of clean data that we have curated over the decade.
Do you call it clean data?
We call it intelligence data.
Intelligent data. Okay.
Yes. Because it's connected, it's curated, it's just amazing.
Only bring me the intelligent data. That's what you say to the staff, right? No more of that other data, right? Anshu, I can see you saying that to the team.
You can see, okay. Sure. No, we do that. So you asked me how I think about agentic.
Right.
Agentic can be applied to any one of those things. If it's generating what you see as crap, then you're probably asking the wrong question. That's what it is, and it's just a mismatch of what you were asking versus what it's giving. There's the signal in everything.
What do you think the most important thing is for people to look for upcoming? What piece of it? So let's talk first about the national security piece. Because there is so much going on geopolitically. We're not going to get into specific things. You pointed out one of the incidents. What should people look out for that? And then if you don't mind, even though it's not your primary area, in the larger picture of what you see on AI applications, but let's start with national security. What's ahead and what are you looking forward to?
I think what I'm looking forward to is more of more adoption of the capabilities we at least companies like us have already developed. And I think in the current environment, it probably is going to work. And that will be a very exciting next step for us where people actually use what we...
But is that because the more sophisticated people are, the more you can accomplish, or it just helps the world to see how it works? I mean, you're talking about business, but I'm also wondering if you think it helps everyone, because I feel that, AI has, people worry about jobs, I worry about jobs and all of that, but I just feel that it's moved everyone to the higher level of more potential success.
I agree with you. I think what I'm looking forward to is better messaging of that.
Okay, better messaging. Oh, we have a communications person in the front row. We'll talk to her about it after.
Yeah, and I think that would be very, very important because everybody's very concerned, as they should be, I think, when they don't know something.
Right.
So that those narratives will be very helpful at a consumer level, so that will help everybody, including businesses, do their thing much better.
And then on the national security side?
On the national security side, I think things will get more predictive, more anticipatory. Winning in the cognitive domain will become easier. The point is not to go fight wars. I mean, it's to win it if it's must be fought, but the point is to actually stop wars if we can.
Do you have an opinion in human in the loop?
I do, yes. When the cost of the decision is very high, then you absolutely need humans in the loop. Cost meaning in human lives or whatever that might be, where it's even not even measurable cost, right? For low-cost decisions, I think it can be delegated to machines like buying stationery or whatever.
Okay, one more question because we're running out of time and I know you're a very busy man. China, what do you worry about? Where do you think their biggest opportunity is to catch up with the U.S.? China
is very hungry. And when a country is very hungry, it kind of figures it out. And so with a leadership that's so top-down, where it is going to catch up with the United States is, I think it'll begin to catch up in innovation. They're very, very much an innovation-starved country. And generally, culturally, they are not really programmed in that way because of a variety of historical reasons. That may begin to shift.
In what way?
Well, because of the incentive structures that come top down, and I think if we need to pay closer attention to that part of their efforts, because I think they could outpace the United States if we are not careful. Well, they're outpacing, by the way. They may outdo us.
I see.
Yeah.
Because you have at least those 5,000 inputs coming in at Rhombus, right? Yeah. So you could do a little prediction now?
Absolutely. If you're willing to pay for it.
Yeah, if you're willing to pay for it. I like that. Anshu Roy, let's hear it for him. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate the work you're doing. Thank you for being with us here at the AI Expo and on the Washington AI Podcast.
I love it.
Thank you. Thanks for the work you're doing.